Dark Tower. Chapter 4. Helga. Everything dressed in the past, I can't and won't. If you remember somewhere nearby, take me out of here. B2. The Medici solitaire didn't lay out. Life in the Gothic castle changed dramatically. Everything was bugged and watched by the Inquisition. The maintenance staff was sent on vacation, and two of Karina's assistants, under her supervision, from morning until late at night, were preparing acquittal papers for the Inquisition, which had made an additional request to provide a report on the work carried out in the castle since the laboratory had been registered in the astral tablets. Karina drifted slowly along the corridors, whispering spells, and white sheets appeared in the air, and as soon as the text appeared on them, they were folded in a certain sequence and packed into boxes by themselves. At lunchtime, Karina contacted a witchcraft lawyer. I am sorry, if the case is filed, you will definitely be sentenced. It seems that in some dark way the forces of darkness reached our light kingdom. Demonstrative fires and stakes today more than ever are needed by the authorities to justify the maintenance of the Inquisition, and they don't care who exactly gets burned. In this case, the Inquisition is required to depower Alan as another alchemist, and you are just a way to do it. I am sorry, Karina, but there is nothing to help you. Alan showed up soon. How are you, Karina? I am afraid I won't be able to produce all the documentation they requested for the full moon. It's unreal. Alan sighed. Karina knew that he was making alchemy, trying to save her, but that time all efforts were in vain. Have they prepared your travel docs? Alan asked, referring to the selection of possible options for reincarnation in case of a sentence. Yes, the best is exile to Siberia, to a lost village, as a hermit herbalist. Karina could barely hold herself from crying. She even kept silent about the fact that she had to use the hypnosis on a nasty rat at the travel and passport department, clearly recruited by the Dark Ones, since she insisted on Antarctica and chatted something about the benefits of fish oil. Well, serve as an herbalist on Earth for a while, and when you get back, we'll go on. By that time, everything will change for the better here, you'll see. To see the broken wind outside the window drive her crazy, from dawn to dark, to see the one on the verge of longing dancing in the sand, caught in the net. B2. Every evening, on the way from the castle to the Dark Tower, Karina and Edgar flew over the neighboring city, dancing dashingly to the music they caught on the ether. In that space, Karina felt completely free from everyone, with the exception of occasional wanderers, encountered on their way, twisting fingers at their temples, like saying that Karina and Edgar were breaking the rules of moving in ether, thus sooner or later they would definitely collide with someone and fall off heaven to earth. Frightened, ha ha ha, a voucher to Siberia was already 5 minutes to her pocket, and the solitaire didn't lay out. The Inquisition, receiving another box of documentation every day, put forward more and more new demands. At night, arriving at the Dark Tower, where the lights were never lit for conspiracy, Karina worked on another formula, sometimes being so deeply immersed in thoughts that she walked through the walls or wandered upside down along the ceiling, and Edgar carefully gave her tea, and when she returned to the floor, they slowly drifted to the land of dreams, discussing scenarios of life on Earth. That night, closer to morning, Karina and Edgar, walking around the land of dreams, encountered the Prague's alchemist, although a ranked member of the dark forces for accusing God of cruelty, but in fact a secret agent of the forces of light. Karina told him her latest news and introduced him to Edgar. Have a good sleep, said the alchemist, casting a scanning glance at Edgar. I think I have recently seen you. Really, it's interesting. But where? I am wandering exclusively upstairs. Are you sure, Edgar? The other day, Eleanor and I were invited to the 300th anniversary of Helga. She is a Scandinavian witch, telling to lonely ghosts about love by runes in exchange for a lead to fresh blood. By the way, Helga still hides what fate she ended up in the dark light. However, she obviously didn't die of her own, and now she lives in a crypt at Prague's old cemetery. Rumor has it that, telling fortune to people, Helga predicted something that caused them to commit suicide. All Prague, and not only, gathered for Helga's anniversary. I mean, dark spirits of Prague and from other places. My wife and I couldn't help but come. Intelligent vampires prefer to follow certain rules. We don't need extra sidelong glances and insults. Well, Edgar, it seems to me that I saw you there. No, I couldn't have been me downstairs, especially at the anniversary where the Dark Ones were gathered. Oh, tell me, please, tell me, the way the anniversaries are held by the Dark Ones. Apparently, I won't have a chance to attend them in the nearest future, asked Karina, keeping in her mind the looming reincarnation in Siberia. Nothing interesting. All the cemetery paths that night turned into endless rows of coffins. Helga covered them with black tablecloths, laid out cutlery, as you understand not silver, and put candles in skulls, while the local imps, serving as waiters, were pouring blood from bottles. Were you and Eleanor drinking blood? Karina shuddered. Of course, like all the Dark Ones living within the earth, we are, in essence, Vampires. However, naturally we don't drink anyone's blood. Face it, vampires don't have fearsome fangs. With the exception of those entities that decorate themselves with such illusions, they indulge, as children, apparently, they loved horror movies during their physical lifetime. The same is with the blood in the glasses at Helga's anniversary. All that decoration is for fun. It's a game, playing by certain rules. In the cemetery, you can recharge yourself exclusively at fresh graves, with the energy of the just deceased. The more sudden is the death and the younger is the body, the more energy is released at the moment of transition. Poor old people, they are of no interest to either people or ghosts. Do you and your wife have dinner at fresh graves? Karina was embarrassed, imagining a flock of vampires hovering over her future grave. Intelligent vampires neither live nor dine in cemeteries. Forgive me, Helga, they don't pounce on people, draining them to death. Eleanor and I don't even use Charles Bridge, the most crowded space, to trace those marked with the seal of death. I mean, to get information and then to appear at the right time in the right place in order to absorb the energy released when the soul leaves the body. It's possible to be fed not by people. In a butcher's shop, for example, on cattle farms, in the woods. The fresh blood of a slaughtered animal contains enough energy to sustain a vampire's life, although in some vicious minds it generates the idea of becoming a werewolf. Such penetration into the physical world is prohibited by law. Eleanor and I are law-abiding. Even through the ancient mirror, the only item in our tower that exists in both dimensions, we never watch the live ones. However, the forces of darkness, interested in collecting as much impurities as possible for the final battle, indulge the desires of vicious entities in every possible way, for example, by setting them into alive physical bodies, so the entity receives much more energy, prolonging its stay in the darkness. Why all stuck ghosts are vampires? Karina wondered. The ghost's body is mortal. It consists of small astral particles connected into a tissue, invisible to the human eye. The fabric will quickly be torn and decay if it's not fed with energy, and the ghost itself will disappear along with the fabric, since the ghosts stuck between the worlds are not pure souls that are immediately taken upstairs. Everyone is admitted to the higher spheres, by the decision of the court, being classified as unclean, or impure, or dark, like Eleanor and I, is doomed to death. It's just a matter of time, whether we'll live to see the apocalypse or not. I have heard that relatively light and even saint souls can linger on Earth. It's a completely different story, Karina, an exception to the rule. The judges allowed them to linger or descend to Earth for a good purpose, in order to fulfill some task of the forces of light. Any ghost of this category has an immortal spirit, which feeds exclusively on the divine light, that is love. Those who are not allowed upstairs, in fact, are representatives of the darkness, the dark forces. They, or, it's bitter to admit it, we, are deprived of the divine spirit, and, therefore, of nutrition and immortality. Anyhow, I have to go to Eleanor now. She is suffering from insomnia again. The alchemist cast another scanning glance at Edgar and added, turning to Karina, however, it's quite possible that the Dark Ones today have a loophole for getting into the upstairs as well. You say yourself that not entirely light things are going on in your kingdom. Be careful, since something great is waiting for you and me, exclusively for the benefit of mankind.